I built this entire setup around adding this Smith machine, so if this doesn't work, I have wasted thousands. This is Rep's new Smith machine attachment, and at £899 in a compact home gym like this, it could either be the smartest upgrade I've made or the most expensive mistake. There are maybe 3 reasons this might be a terrible buy, and one of them is easy to miss. Let's dive in and see how it works. Like many of you, I train alone and push close to failure, but there's always that one moment where you think, this could go wrong. Now, a Smith machine removes some of that fear. So in theory, this should let me train harder, safer, and with more volume. At least that's the theory. I'm running the most compact version of the Aries 2.0 and PR 5000 rack that you can realistically build in the UK. I've got 80-inch uprights and then the 16 and 16-inch configuration for the cross members. It is tight. Now, if this attachment doesn't work, then I will have wasted a lot of money and a lot of space, because realistically, without the Smith, the wall-mounted version of the Aries 2.0 would be far better option than having all of this. Now, first impressions, the build quality is exactly what you would expect from Rep. It glides well, there's no lateral movement, and the finish is exactly the same as the beautiful metallic black that you get on the other attachments of the Aries. And so far, it's starting to justify the price point, but let's see how it actually works when we train. The stability here is brilliant. I can really feel it in my back and the lats. Thankfully, not so much in my lower back. The bar goes fairly low, but you can see me standing on this homemade platform just for another inch of depth. I went for the more passive Colorado nail, as I'm hoping my wife uses this too. However, she said she wasn't used to it being so thick. Not quite sure what she meant by that. Anyway, overall, for this exercise, 7 out of 10. Moving on to shrugs, which felt incredible. Everything is locked in, there's no sway, the bar path is ideal, and it's easy to lock in with the Versa grips or if you use normal straps. This actually felt better than a normal barbell. A good 9 out of 10. Now, similar to everybody else lifting over the age of 30, I have a dodgy shoulder, but this surprised me. The fixed bar path actually feels more forgiving than I thought it would. It's the first time in 3 years I've done a shoulder press without pain. Again, a 9 out of 10. And at this point, I was thinking this Smith machine was a brilliant addition until I tried the decline bench. Right, I've ran into the first issue with the Smith machine. I'm trying to decline bench at the moment, and this is where things have got a little bit tight, literally. So I've had to remove the Aries footplate from the Aries system and then push the bench all the way back to the shrouds to be able to get myself under the bar properly. Now, this isn't ideal because the Smith machine is meant to be easy. It's meant to be seamless. So let's see how we get on with this. Ironically, it feels amazing because the machine is so smooth. It feels like you're using a chess machine of some sort. It's actually better than the last commercial gym I was in, where the machine would hit your left pec whilst being about 2 inches away from your right. So what about incline? Same problem, but even worse. It's not looking good. At this moment, I started questioning whether I'd made a big mistake. I decided to try and move the Smith machine to its 5-degree angle rather than having it completely vertical. I was hoping this would create a little bit more space in the rack for the decline and incline bench. So I undo the bolts on the bottom and the top and slide it into position. And that's when I realised something quite important. Alright, so we're going to set this up in incline and see if this is any better this time. So this is the angle that I would normally... Oh no, that's never going to work. Wow, that is the guillotine and a half. Right, so that doesn't work. So it's a little hard for me to tell what I captured on my GoPro there, but long story short, I can have the 5 degree on the Smith machine, but it does get very close to the trolleys at the bottom, but it should be fine. Now, moving it forward has made it a little bit easier to do an incline press at 15 degrees, but I still can't do anything any higher than that at 30 or 45. So just know that if you're getting this and you've got a tight setup like I have, there will be some compromises with this Smith machine. Now, with the 16-inch cross members, there's only really one place that you can put the Smith attachment, and that's towards the back. You can try and move it further forward to make more space for the incline press or a no-fuss decline press, but just make sure that if you've got the Aries 2.0, the weight plates don't hit the handles, especially when they are parked at the bottom of the front uprights. Now, I believe Rep is launching longer cross members. I think it's 23 inches, don't quote me. That would allow me to do all of this unrestricted. but at the same time, it's another cost. I'd have to do something with the existing cross members and I'd need to buy new cables for the area system, and it's just adding up. At this point, I started to play with some of the other exercises. The leg-based movements feel more stable with the Smith. Now, I tore both calves last year, so this is a big part of rehab, and the Smith adds so much more stability to calf raises, a good 9 out of 10. And also, this is a sneak peek at a hack which will be in an upcoming video, where you can create a calf raise block at less than half the price of buying one specifically designed for this. I prefer to do proper back or front squats outside of the Smith anyway, but I set this up using slant boards to mimic almost a sissy squat, and it feels unreal. The first 10 out of 10, although you can't load much weight. However, you can start to see some issues with the setup here. That huge rep cross member is getting in the way. I really do need to swap it out, but you know, money. And if you move the boards forward a touch, you can almost replicate a hack squat, maybe an 8 out of 10. Again, I'm using the slant boards to create this angle, and those will also be in that hacks video. So if this is something that you're into, be a gem and subscribe. This is really where the Smith starts to shine. It's just so many machines in one. Yeah, it's not quite like having a dedicated hack squat or leg press, but I don't have space for those anyway. Hip thrusts are easier to set up on a Smith because you can start at the top of the movement. You don't need to get under the bar, but you can't go that low. But if you add a thick pad like I do here, that'll add a couple of inches to the range of movement. Another 8 out of 10. RDLs and deadlifts are similar to the other movements. You might need to add some kind of board to raise you up, but that's pretty minor. Now, I've got this on the 5-degree angle, which means as you go down, the weight and the bar stays very close to your shins, so it feels really good. I would give this a 7.5. On the whole, I'm starting to feel much better about this purchase. So, did I ruin my gym? No, far from it. But this isn't an automatic upgrade. If your rack is already tight on space, then you need to understand that there will be some compromises on the way. Now, at the moment, this allows me to train harder and train safer, and that outweighs the compromises for me. But I nearly returned it. If you've got more space and a larger rack setup and a spare £900, then I genuinely don't think you can go wrong with this. If you're building or upgrading a home gym, I get that it's expensive and there's a lot of money on the line. And that's why I set this channel up, to guide you through your build so you don't waste money on gear that doesn't work for you and your circumstances. So if you've enjoyed this, subscribe for more content, and if you want to see more videos like this, click here.